Alright, we got everything, right? Let's see. I got coffee. Coffee, check. Got water? Check. Microphone test, check. YouTube videos loaded, mostly. Vaporsmith's electronic cigarette, check. And notes, not that I'm going to follow the notes, stick to the notes, think about the notes. I'll drop the notes and forget about them at some point. But that's just how things happen here. Oh yes, and I'm wearing pants. That's always helpful.
You can scream and shout with all your might.
Oh, you can scream, shout, whine, cry, snivel, piss, moan, phone your mommy. Here's a quarter.
Dig in your heels and hold on tight.
You can shove your opinion up your ass. That way Hussein Obama's cock has something to keep it company.
Either you are wrong or I am right.
And don't forget, the ever-present, the most likely, the third possibility, you are wrong and I am right. Oh, fuck yes. I am the great one himself. I am right. I am always right. I will always be right. I have always been right. And this is Stating the Obvious, the weapons platform from which I launch the cruise missile of my intellect that homes in on, destroys, blows up, radiates with beautiful broken atoms, radiates dumb fuck statist all around the world with my intelligence. And some of you out there survive. Some of you are deep in your bunkers. But when you come out of your bunker to scavenge for food, we will mow you down with the machine guns. Today, what is today? I did not have the date. Was this the 14th? Thank you. In the control room is the lovely and adorable Randy. Today is September the 14th, 2012. I am the great one himself. This is Stating the Obvious podcast brought to you by the Cynical Libertarian Society. CYNLIBSOC.com is where you find us on the internet. If you want to contact us at Cynical Libertarian Society, you can send an email to God. That's dog spelled backwards. God at CYNLIBSOC.com. All right. So this podcast, and probably the one that's going to come after it, because I'm sure I'm not going to be able to get this in one attempt. Why? Because I talk too much. This podcast came out of three different things. Those three things are, first of all, my growing annoyance with what I finally decided to call pseudo-libertarians. I like neocons because neocons have a great name. Neocon, you know, it's a fantastic thing to call people. You want to insult somebody, you call them a neocon. And as I'm looking at the pseudo-libertarians, I really wanted to call them neo-libs. But of course the problem with that is that you don't know if I'm talking about a libertarian or a liberal, which is what most people would assume, because most people don't know what a libertarian is, including a lot of pseudo-libertarians. And so it just really sucks that, you know, liberals, of course, who are actually communist and socialist, came along and stole our word. Libertarians are what are supposed to be called liberals, you know. So anyhow, see, I'm already getting flustered and off track. So remember when people who were socialist and communist were actually called socialist and communist, and then they figured out that being a socialist or a communist was a bad thing, so they stole the word liberal from libertarians, and now of course that liberal is becoming a bad word. They're trying to call themselves progressives or populist, but I still don't know what the fuck a populist is, nor do I care. But anyhow, I see the exact same thing happening right now in the Republican Party. Republicans, I think neocon has always been a bad word. Conservative is becoming a bad word. So a lot of people in the Republican Party are trying to steal the word libertarian and stick it on them. So that they can, oh, we're not conservatives, we're libertarians. Yet they're still in the Republican Party. Just like all of these liberals and these progressives in the Democrat Party, they're still communist, they're still socialist. So there's the first thing that kind of ticked me off, is these assholes stealing our fucking word. Okay, I'm so sick of people fucking stealing our words. That's why I've decided to start referring to myself as a anarcho-capitalist, because nobody is going to fucking steal that word, except for little angsty teenagers who think that they're anarchists because they wear black all the time and they have an anarchy symbol on their t-shirt. All right, the second thing that has motivated all of this is my constant and continuous, for many, many years, annoyance with people who cling to the idea that voting is somehow a great thing, and that voting is not violence, and that voting is not aggression, and that voting makes a difference, blah, blah, blah. And how many of these pseudo-libertarians run around saying, oh, I'm a libertarian, yet, just as they cling to the Republican Party, they cling to voting. And then the third motivation for all of this is, of course, the fantastic shenanigans at the Republican National Convention, which were not a surprise to anybody that has more than 7 brain cells. However, since most pseudo-libertarians don't have more than 7 brain cells, they were shocked. They were absolutely shocked that Ron Paul got bent over and fucked up the ass. Imagine that. Wait, you mean the Republicans aren't going to run Ron Paul for president? How many times have I told you people? Ron Paul will not be president, okay? So, now, throw into that, I discovered a YouTube channel by, I've already forgotten how to pronounce her name, Julie Borowski. If I'm fucking up Julie's name, just deal with it. That's why I'm going to just call her Julie from here on out, because that's a hell of a lot easier. Even I can say the word Julie without fucking it up. Julie is on YouTube. She is Token Libertarian Girl. There'll be links down below if I have my shit together, which sometimes happens. So I started watching her videos. She had some pretty good stuff. I mean, I was agreeing with a lot. And then, a while back, she posted the video entitled, Should Libertarians Vote? And of course, I watched this. And so this perfectly fits in because Julie is a pseudo-libertarian. And then here she is making this YouTube video where she's making this argument that libertarians should vote. And so all of this it was like the perfect storm. It all came together right there. And my fucking blood pressure went nuts. And I started screaming and throwing shit across the room and all this other stuff. So today, on Stating the Obvious, right here, live on this podcast. It's live right now. It's not live when you're listening to it. I might still be alive when you listen to this, unless the government chooses to kill me sometime in the near future, which is eventually going to happen. By the way, I need to put that on the prediction page. I will now say this right now today. On what day is it, Randy? Thank you. 14th of September, 2012. I am hereby officially predicting that when I die, and I will die, sadly, it's going to happen, but I will be killed by the government. That is going to be how I leave this world, how I shove off this mortal coil. Some fucking government agent is going to put a bullet in me. Okay? Because as the state gets more and more powerful, people like myself, people like Stephen Molyneux, people like Ben Stone, people like the Free State Project movement, people like this cannot be allowed to live. The state at some point, and this will happen in my lifetime, the state at some point is going to have to start killing us. Because there's too much danger that people who talk about freedom might convert other people. Granted, it's not likely. I heard, I think it was a Bad Quaker where we were talking about converting people. And this is something I've always said about stating the obvious, is that I'm not here to convert people. I have no fucking interest, none, in somebody listening to this podcast and going, oh wow, I just realized I'm a statist cocksucking murderer. I'm going to convert to believing in freedom and the non-aggression principle. Because I know that's not going to happen. Thank you, Randy. Randy's pointing out that this has nothing to do with the fucking topic. This is why this is going to be 2 podcasts long. But the point was that the phrase was said, you can go out, you can find people who are libertarians, and maybe they don't know it, but you can't convert people who are not libertarians to libertarians. And I find that to be extremely true in my life. There are people who are already predisposed to believing in property rights and non-aggression. And you can find those people, you can help them along. But I have so many friends, they are so statist. They are so filled with hatred for other people's freedom, for other people having property, for other people being allowed to make their own choices. I mean, you cannot convert these people. You cannot convince them. These people are lost. And this is why I think the state is going to get worse and worse and worse, because these people are the greatest part of our population. They control the education system. Thank you, Randy. Randy is reminding me again, this has nothing to do with that. Would you like me to get on topic? Will that make you stop harassing me with messages on the whiteboard? All right, fine. I'm actually going to go on topic at this point. What? We're only 10 minutes into the fucking show. Why would I actually talk about the topic? All right, hang on. I need coffee. All right, so let's jump in. Let's get the video out of the way, and then I'll ramble about it for a while. Actually, I will, of course, be stopping the video as it goes to cut in. Let me see. Have we got this? All right, here we go. Moment of truth. Play the video.
There are some libertarians who are completely against voting, no exceptions. They believe that it somehow legitimizes the system.
All right, now, as Julie goes into this, she's going to make this series of statements, like she just made, that they believe that voting legitimizes the system. So she makes these statements in a dismissive way. Right? You just heard that. She's dismissing the idea that voting legitimizes the system. Notice, as we go through the whole video, which is going to take a while because I'm going to interrupt it a lot and talk. Notice as we go through the video that she at no point presents any evidence for any of her beliefs here. She at no point presents any evidence to support the statement she just made, which she didn't make the statement that voting does not legitimize the system, but she dismissed the statement that voting does legitimize the system. She makes no effort to explain why she dismisses the idea that voting legitimizes the system. Now, I could play a little bit more, but I really just want to deal with this right now because I am so fucking sick. I'm so fucking sick of fucking ass monkeys coming to me and trying to tell me that voting does not legitimize the system. First thing we have to do is define our terms. I have here, in my hand, a thing called a book, Webster's New World Dictionary. Notice that I am not getting this information from going to google.com and having the results that are returned to me filtered by a multi-billion-dollar international corporation using an algorithm that is a secret that nobody can know about. I'm getting this information from a book. It's an old book, too. It's written before political correctness existed. Legitimize. What is the definition of the word legitimize? Do you know? If you don't know, then don't fucking use it in a sentence. As soon as I find it, because it's on this page somewhere. Here we go. Legitimize. To make or to declare legitimate. To make lawful. To give legal force or status. To give official or formal sanction to. Authorize. To give status of a legitimate child to, and then second definition, to make seem just, right, or reasonable, justify. So to legitimize is to make lawful, is to give legal force or status to. When you vote for a politician, and that politician wins, you have made the election of that politician lawful. You have legitimized the election of that politician. You have given that politician legal force. If you vote for a ballot measure, you are voting to give that ballot measure legal force. When you dumb fucks out there, you come to me and you say, oh, but great one, voting doesn't legitimize the system. Yes, it fucking does. When you fucking vote, that doesn't simply legitimize the system. That is the fucking system. That is your little part that you are allowed to play in the system by the state. Okay? The government raises taxes. The people who actually work for a living do economic work. They generate money. They pay the taxes. The government takes the tax money, and then they print some extra money just to make sure they have enough. They give it to the corporations. The corporations build flying robots and put guns on them. These are built by people who are also working, who get paid for that and then pay taxes, which helps to finance the flying robots they're building. Then the government takes the flying robots, they send them across the ocean, although now they use them here in the United States as well, and they use the flying robots to kill people. Every 4 years, you get to decide which cocksucking motherfucker will make the decisions about who gets killed with the flying robots. That is how the state works. When you vote, you are doing your part in it. You are justifying it. You are fucking legitimizing it. You are making this all legitimate. Every 4 years, you go up there and you vote and you say, yep, I approve of everything that's going on and I am willing to be a participant. Let's make an analogy here. The game of Monopoly. First of all, where the hell are my notes? There they are. All right. Voting is like Monopoly. You sit down to play a game of Monopoly. You agree to what the rules are, and then you participate in that game according to the rules. When you vote, you're going out. You're participating in the rules. The rules are you get to vote. Your vote may or may not count. Because remember, it doesn't matter who votes. It only matters who counts the votes. This whole idea that, oh, you need to go vote because I'm so fucking sick of hearing your vote counts. Your vote doesn't fucking count. Okay? Your vote is nothing because it doesn't matter that you're voting. It doesn't matter about your vote. It only matters who counts the votes. And of course, as I've pointed out recently many, many times, remember, Democrat National Convention 2008, who got the most votes? Hillary Clinton. Who got to run for president? Hussein Obama. Your vote doesn't fucking count. At the Republican National Convention this year, what about all these fuckers who wanted to vote for Ron Paul? What happened to Ron Paul and his votes? Oh, hey, Ron Paul, bend over. We're gonna dick you right in the ass. Thanks for coming, motherfucker. See ya. Boom. Oh, all right. Your vote doesn't fucking count. All right, that has nothing to do with Monopoly. You sit down to play a game of Monopoly. You know what the rules are. You agree to the rules. You take the dice, you roll them, they give you a number, you move your little marker, you land on go to jail, you have to move your thing to jail. You can't sit there and argue, well wait, I landed on the go to jail square, but I don't want to go to jail. No. Those are the rules. You knew the rules before you started. When you started playing the game, you agreed to abide by the rules. That's sort of like a social contract argument that a lot of people like to make. The difference being that when statists say, well, you're in the United States, social contract, you have to abide by blah, blah, blah. You can't opt out of the state, blah, blah, blah. You know, the difference here is that, of course, you have the opportunity to opt out of playing Monopoly. Nobody has to play Monopoly. It's purely optional. The state, of course, is not optional. All right, so voting works the same way. When you go in that little booth and you do your little voting shit, you're agreeing to abide by the rules. The rules are, whoever gets the most votes wins. The rules are that whoever gets the most votes wins. That person gets to be president. That person can kill people in foreign countries with flying robots. That person can escalate the drug war. That person can spend billions and billions of dollars. Now here's the interesting part. There's always this argument being made out there, and it's not being made by Julie. I will point that out. She talks about this later. But there's an argument made by many people out there who say if you don't vote, you don't get to complain. I have bad fucking news for you. It is exactly the opposite. If you vote, you don't get to complain. Okay, when you agree, I'm going to play the game of Monopoly, you are agreeing to the rules. You don't get to complain about the rules. If you want to make house rules, you should have made house rules before the game began. One of those. It's okay, I was shifting tense in the middle of a sentence. It's no big deal. Okay? When you vote, when you go in that booth and you push your little button on that computer, which is not going to record your vote, but record whatever vote it's been programmed to record, when you participate in the political system, when you vote, you're saying, I agree to abide by the rules. And then you vote, and that's it. That's the only part you get. After that, the politicians can do whatever they want. You don't get to complain. You have no fucking right. I'm making little quotey fingers in the air with my hands right now. You have no right to complain about the government. You did your part. You got your input. You got your one vote. Shut the fuck up until the next election. That's all you get. Okay? I, as a person standing outside watching other people play Monopoly, I can complain about the rules all I want because I never agreed to abide by those rules. I, standing outside the statist system, I can complain about it all I want because I've never agreed to abide by the statist system. Those of you, when you vote, you're saying you are legitimizing that system, you are legitimizing the process, and you are saying you agree to abide by the results. And the results are that you get some dickhead like Hussein Obama, or you get some dickhead like Mitzi Romy. And then you just shut the fuck up because nobody cares about your opinion anymore, okay? You've given your opinion. Shut the fuck up. About the legitimizing. Okay, let me ask you this. When somebody wins the election, when Hussein Obama won the election, the fact that he won that election is what gives him the power to do all the things that he's doing as president. So if you voted for him, how does that not legitimize his power? How does that legitimize the presidency of the United States? Explain to me, somebody out there who thinks that voting does not legitimize the system. I'm telling you, voting is the system. I want you to explain to me. Don't just make fucking snappy little offhand remarks like Julie just did about it's not true. I want you to actually explain to me how participating in the system, not just participating in a system you have to participate in, as I've said before, you have to pay income taxes if you don't want the government to kill you. Okay? But you don't have to vote if you don't want the government to kill you. And now, as I have predicted, that will change. The government is going to make voting mandatory, and this is why they're going to make it mandatory. Because, as I said, it doesn't matter who votes, it only matters who counts the votes. By forcing everybody to vote, the government will be able to say, oh, look how many people support us. Look, it's like North Korea, everybody votes, same guy wins all the time. Alright, they're going to do that in order to maintain the mask of legitimacy, because the state knows that voting legitimizes the system. They fucking know that. It's only you dumbasses out there who don't know that. Let's talk about something on voting real quick too. I do draw a distinction between voting for a person, voting for a politician, and voting for a law, a ballot amendment, something like that. Now, this is the example I always like to use. Here in the People's Republic of Fort Collins, we used to have medical marijuana dispensaries, and then a bunch of old people with blue hair decided they didn't like that, and we had an election, and all the people who should have been out voting to keep the medical marijuana dispensaries open were at home smoking dope that day, and so we lost. So what happened was, within city limits, medical marijuana dispensaries are now illegal. Some number of businesses went out of business because of this. I think it was around 20-ish, something like that. All right. Voting on something like that is still, you're still participating in the state. You're still validating the system, all of this other stuff. But I can excuse this a little bit better. And while I admit that there is, from a purely non-aggression approach, an approach of the non-aggression principle, from a principle-based approach, it's still wrong to vote even against something like this, because you are participating in the system. You are validating the system. When those people voted to shut down medical marijuana dispensaries, they made the shutting down of medical marijuana dispensaries lawful. They did legitimize that. And when I voted against that measure, I was attempting to say that measure was unlawful, that it was not legitimate. But I was attempting to say that it was not legitimate within the legitimacy of the statist political system. Okay? So I can forgive people who vote on ballot measures or laws or things like that, who vote against a state income tax, or who vote to lower taxes, although voting to lower taxes is still voting to support taxes, which is aggression. So sadly, I do have to, in a very hypocritical way, break voting into these two branches. So for the purpose of this, I want to make it very clear that most of what I'm saying applies to voting for politicians, voting for people, because this is the ultimate evil. Remember, Adolf Hitler was elected, okay? FDR put Japanese people in concentration camps, was elected. W. Bush was elected. Hussein Obama was elected. All right. Evil people get elected. There's a lot of problems with voting for politicians. Another thing about this is when you vote for a politician, what you're saying is, I legitimately select this person to represent me. I believe that this is the best person for the job. Now, the idea that Romy or Obama are the best person for the job is nonsensical. And yet you're going to do it anyway. Okay, the idea that, yeah, and the whole philosophical problem with voting for a person as opposed to, say, a ballot measure or a law is that when you're voting for a person, you're saying this person represents me. But what kind of mindless moron are you that another human being can represent your views? There's only one person who can represent my views and opinions, my approach to life, my beliefs, so forth, so on. So forth, so on is what you say when you're running out of words. There's only one person who can do that. That's me. Okay? The idea that I can somehow fucking delegate representing my best interest to somebody else is goddamn nonsense. And this is what you do when you go out and you vote for a politician. Alright, have I rambled enough on that? Let's try to get back to the video. God forbid that we should make progress anywhere during this entire podcast, right?
A complete waste of time because one vote is never going to change.
One vote is never going to, Julie, I just told you, it doesn't matter who votes, it only matters who counts the votes.
The outcome of an election, and voting is aggression.
Voting is aggression. When you support the President of the United States, when you say to that person, Mr. President, I voted for you, I support you, you are helping that individual kill other people. When you vote, you are saying, yes, the government, the state, this system is legitimate. When you say a system that kills people, rapes people, murders people, does the war on drugs, does the war on terror, does the TSA touching little boys in the fucking airport, when you support the system, when you legitimize the system that is responsible for all of those things, yes, that is aggression. Your inability to see that is a little scary. But I can't help you there. Only you, Julie, can open your eyes and see the truth. God, I sound like a cult leader. I love it when that happens. Give me your money. Send your checks too.
Now, I don't think anybody has this obligation or this duty to their country to vote. If you don't want to vote, don't vote.
Thanks. I now have your permission. I appreciate that, Julie.
And everybody has the right to complain, but there is nothing.
Now, as I said, if you vote, you don't have the right to complain because you agreed to the rules, you agreed that the voting would dictate the outcome, and you agreed to abide by the outcome. If you vote, you do not get to complain. You don't. I know that goes against everything you've ever heard in your life, but everything you've heard in your life is wrong.
Nothing wrong with voting. Politics will take an interest in you, even if you do not take an interest in politics.
Now that, of everything in this video, that statement right there, I do believe, is the hardest one to respond to. And here's why. That statement sounds really enlightened, and simple and truthful. And I'm not saying this in any sarcastic way. I mean this. When you say, it is true. It is absolutely true. The state is going to take an interest in you, regardless of what you want to do. Right? Look at the Amish and all these other people. The Amish and their whole thing where the government is starting to crack down on them because they have raw milk and all this other stuff. Those people want to stay as far away from the state as they can. But that's not what the state wants. The state wants to control their lives, because that's what the state does. Look at the American Indians. They're on their reservations, they're kind of their own nations and all this other stuff, but the state, in the sort of theory, they're separate from the United States, but not really. The state wants to control their lives. So this, yes, it's true. The state will always want to control your life. But voting still legitimizes the state. When you say the state, politics will always take an interest in you, even if you're not interested in them. This is true. But here's the thing. Politics, the state, can only function with the support of the people. It can only function effectively as long as it is being legitimized by the people, who are its slaves. Imagine this, if you will. What if there was an election and nobody voted? I mean this. Think about it. What if 2012 presidential election, what if nobody voted for Obama or Romney? For those of you who say voting doesn't legitimize the system, if nobody in the entire country, not one person, voted for either of those two men, how could either of them legitimately claim to be president of the United States? Politics will take an interest in you, even if you don't take an interest in it. That doesn't mean you have to actively support the state. Okay? If you're a woman and you're walking in a parking lot late at night and it's dark, rapists will take an interest in you, regardless of whether or not you take an interest in them. That doesn't mean you should carry around extra condoms with you, and when the guy rapes you, offer to put it on him so that he doesn't get any diseases. If you are an 8-year-old boy, Catholic priest will take an interest in you, even if you don't take an interest in them. Okay? That doesn't mean you should go to their chambers after the service wearing crotchless underwear and drop your pants. Yes, the state is going to take an interest in you, but that doesn't mean you have to jump out onto the road in front of the state and scream, "Hey, I'm over here, let's tango." The state is only legitimate as long as the masses participate in it. If nobody votes, they're fucked. If nobody pays income tax, they're fucked. Okay? I'm not saying you should not pay income tax. Remember the part I said earlier, pay your taxes or the state will kill you. You have to pay your taxes. Right now, today, pay your taxes or you will die. Voting is not in that category. You do not have to vote, especially for politicians. Again, you're going to the ballot to vote against shutting down the marijuana dispensaries. You're going there to vote against state income tax, something like that. It's still violence. It's still supporting the state, but I can let that slide. But when you go in there and you vote for one of those two cocksuckers, Messiah or Mitzi, that is violence. You are condoning violence, and you are helping the state to take an interest in you. What you're saying is, why, yes, this is legit. All right, listen to this. Here's the numbers I dug up. I'll have links on this. So, last election, number of people, I'm just going to be very big rounding here. The people who voted for the Messiah were 69 million. People who voted for McSame were 59 million. Now, the total number of people who voted in the 2008 presidential population for one of those two dickheads was 129,391,714. This is out of the population of the United States, which is currently 314,373,033. That means that both of these jackasses together, Messiah and McSame, both of them, they were elected, or no, they weren't elected. Those two people got votes from 41% of the population. Now, let us pretend for a moment that democracy is legitimate, that democracy is good, that democracy is right, that democracy makes sense, that democracy is the best form of government. Let's just not even go into the democracy argument right now. Let's pretend that, if we just lived in a democracy, everything would be wonderful, and fucking unicorns would fart rainbow-flavored kittens and all this other stuff. 41% is not a majority. Now, the Messiah was actually elected, the Messiah has been legitimized by 22% of the population of the United States alive today. Essentially, every time the Messiah murders a person in a foreign country, or every time the Messiah escalates the drug war, or every time the Messiah bails out a corporation, this has been legitimized by a mere 22% of the population. Does that sound like democracy to you? If you're a fucking democracy humper, does that sound to you like democracy? The reason you shouldn't vote is because if we can get that number down to 10%, that would be a beautiful... Can you imagine an election in which 20% of the population goes out and votes, and one of those candidates wins by 10.1, is elected literally by 10% of the population of the United States? Even pseudo-libertarians should be able to see at some point that that is not legitimate.
It's not like anybody can just opt out of the states.
Okay, and she's right. You can't opt out of the state. But again, just because you cannot opt out doesn't mean you have to further legitimize the state by participating in the process. You can't opt out of paying income taxes, but that doesn't mean you should send extra money.
Politicians will make decisions that will affect you.
They will. And they will affect you because you will willingly obey, and also because of horizontal enforcement, because other people, if you don't obey the decisions of the politicians, because other people who believe in democracy and freedom and all this other horseshit will turn you in. If you see something, say something, and sending emails to the White House if somebody's spreading rumors about the healthcare plan and all this other stuff. I mean, she's right about that. What she just says is right, but that still does not legitimize voting, which legitimizes the system, okay? I'm not saying her statement there is wrong. I'm saying it has nothing to do with whether or not voting legitimizes the system or why you should vote.
I see voting as self-defense.
No, I see shooting somebody who's trying to kill you as self-defense. I see thinking ahead as self-defense. I see planning for disasters. So voting is not voting for a politician. Remember, I'm talking about voting for a politician. Voting for Mitzi over Messiah is not self-defense. Voting for Mitzi over Messiah is saying, I want Mitzi to be in charge of killing people in foreign countries with flying robots. That is not self-defense. Voting for Mitzi is saying, I want Mitzi to be the person who makes decisions about when and where the drug war is escalated, not Messiah. That is not self-defense. That is not self-defense. You are saying, I support this politician and this politician's efforts to go forth and do violence to other people. That is not fucking self-defense.
You can vote for whoever you feel will be the least authoritarian.
Oh my God, when I heard that statement, I almost fucking pissed my pants. You can vote for whoever's least authoritarian. Whoa, aren't we so fortunate? This is the greatest thing. Hey, Julie. The next time some guy is going to rape you, I hope there's two guys there and you can vote for which one of them you think may or may not have venereal diseases. Maybe you could vote for the one that has the smallest cock. I don't know. But that is, you can vote for the one that's least authoritarian. Maybe parents could vote for which TSA agent is going to touch their 8-year-old child's penis in the fucking airport. See, this is why voting is so dangerous, because when you tell people, oh, well, you get to vote, people think, oh yeah, I had a choice. First of all, if you only have two options, that's not a choice, it's a dilemma. But the idea that just because you voted makes everything okay, it's like the example where, if two guys come up and they say, okay, one of us is going to mug you, you can decide which of us to give your wallet to. That makes it okay. If two guys are going to rape you, you can decide which guy holds you down and which guy rapes you. Then that makes it okay. No. Voting for one fucking totalitarian, authoritarian ass fuck over the other does not make it okay. That fucking just, oh my God, my fucking mind hurts to hear people say shit like that.
There's ballot measures that you can vote for or against. It's not aggression to vote for a ballot measure to repeal the state income tax.
It is aggression. However, as I've already said, from a purely pragmatic and non-principled approach, I agree that you should vote for a ballot measure to repeal a state income tax.
Latest politicians hope that Libertarians stay home on Election Day.
Politicians don't give a shit who stays home and who doesn't. I'm going to say this till I'm blue in the fucking face. It doesn't matter who votes, and it doesn't matter who you vote for. It only matters who counts the votes. No, why do you people think that the elections, like the ballots, why do you think they're secret? Right, everybody thinks, well, yeah, we have a secret ballot so that nobody can, what's the word I'm looking for? Randy, what's the word I'm looking for? No, that's not the word. That's not it either. It starts with the retaliate. People, the stupid people who think that the president is the king, the stupid people believe the reason the elections are secret is so nobody can retaliate against you for who you voted for. That's not why elections are secret. Elections are secret so that, imagine, let's say there's 10 people in a room, okay, and we have a vote. And everybody you do secret ballot, and you can voting on A or B. So they do the thing, and they say, okay, A won, A got 8 votes, and B got 2 votes. Everybody goes, okay, yeah, that sucks, whatever. Alright, but now, you don't actually know that. If, however, the voting is done in the open, where everybody can see what the other person voted, if 5 people really voted for A and 5 people really voted for B, in an open election where you can see everybody's ballots, you can't hide that. But in a secret election, the person who counts the votes can say whatever the fuck they want to say, regardless of what the votes actually are. This is why political elections are secret. I mean, how stupid are you people? Why can you not see this? If you really want democracy, the first thing we need to do is have everybody vote right there in the open, your name, your vote, where everybody can see. It's just like at the Republican National Convention where they did that stupid thing on the floor where the guy said how many in favor, and the aye, and how many opposed, and the nays was louder, and then he just says, okay, it's been approved. Even in an open vote, in our wonderful democracy with these political parties, nobody gives a fuck about your vote. Your vote doesn't fucking matter. When they count the votes, they're going to get the numbers that they need to get in order to do what they want to do. That's why the ballots are secret. And one of these days I should do an episode about how if the government, if the political system, if the state of the United States, which actually shouldn't exist, but if there's a state organized around voting the way I thought it should be organized, which would actually work, I need to do that one of these days. But anyhow, this is not the day. Good God, are you shitting me? We're that far. Oh God. All right. Let me get back to the video because Randy's indicating that I'm running out of time. Imagine that.
Why would they care if Libertarians don't vote? They don't care about the total number of votes.
They don't care about the votes, period. They make up the fucking numbers. The numbers are made up to reflect what they want. That's why the voting is secret ballot. That's why the voting is done on computers. But Randy, do you remember the name of that documentary we watched about the voting fraud? I want to say it's like They Stole My Democracy or something like that. Anyhow, here's the really short version. These people, I've talked about this in another issue of Stating the Obvious. These people got voting machines and the company said, oh, these voting machines cannot be tampered with. They can't be rigged. They can't be, I laughed. Anybody who knows anything about computers and software will laugh at that. Anyhow, so the people making the documentary got the voting machines. They took the voting machines to computer geeks. They said, hack these things and rig the voting. The computer geeks hacked them, rigged the voting, then they tested it with people. They had people go in and vote and record what they voted, and then it showed that yes, what these people voted, the people's votes and the votes counted by the computers were not the same. God fucking damn it, people. Will you fucking please fucking listen to me? Your fucking vote doesn't fucking count. Why? Why is this so fucking hard for you to fucking understand?
want to get elected by beating their opponents. By not voting against them, you're just making it easier for them to get...
Whoa, 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 hold it. Whoa, 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 whoa. By not voting against them. Last time I checked, no ballot has an option for none of the above. Okay? You cannot vote against the politicians who are running. You can think your vote, or you can go in there and say, well, I'm going to vote for Mitzi because I'm voting against Messiah. No. Yes, in your mind, that's what you're thinking. And I understand that. I'm serious. I understand the thought. But in reality, what you're doing is you're voting for Mitzi. When the computer counts that ballot, it doesn't go like to a separate category that's against Obama, but not for Mitzi. That's not how it fucking works. You cannot vote against, the only way you can vote against a politician, unless there is a none of the above option on the ballot, the only way you can vote against politicians is by not voting. Okay, that is pure bullshit.
Power. They're going to keep doing what they're doing, and nothing's going to change.
Right, because all these years you've been voting, yeah, we've been changing shit, right? Again, okay, wait. First of all, there's a statement we've all heard, if voting could change things, the government will let you vote, and that's true. But for those of you who think that voting works, then why is everything so fucked up? People have been voting in presidential elections for over 200 years. Okay, wait, if voting works, why is it fucked up? Why is our education system a joke? Why do corporations rule the land? Why are we killing people in foreign countries with flying robots? Why do we have all these people in prison for using drugs where they're getting raped by other men? If voting works, if voting solves problems, if voting is the path, then why is everything so fucked up? You've been voting for 200 fucking years. How much more voting do you need to do?
And people who say voting's a waste of time, really? So you always make the best use of your time? I mean,
Now there's the great argument. You should vote because, what? This is hardly a principle. Just because something doesn't take a lot of time or it's easy to do doesn't mean you should do it. It'd be really easy for me right now to open the window of the recording studio here at the Cynical Libertarian Society, take that rifle that's right there, point it out the window and shoot somebody. It would be really easy for me to do that. Almost no effort whatsoever. That doesn't mean I should do it. That doesn't mean that it's morally, ethically right for me to do that. That doesn't mean that I'm adhering to the non-aggression principle. It has nothing to do with anything.
YouTube right now. Some libertarians probably spend more time arguing and writing about why people shouldn't vote than the time it would take to actually vote. I say that
that's still not an argument. I mean, it doesn't take much time to vote. That's still not an argument for why you should do it. That's still, and remember, at the beginning she made those statements. Have you heard her at any point yet explain her dismissal of the statement that voting legitimizes the system? Have you heard Julie offer any evidence for why voting does not legitimize the system? No, you haven't. You've heard shit about, well, voting doesn't take much time, so you should go do it. Oh my God, totally.
the more libertarians that vote, the better. We kick out statist politicians.
And replace them with what?
Congressmen generally give their vote away to whoever they fear the
Congressmen give their vote away to the corporations.
most. They're self-interested creatures whose main concern is keeping their jobs.
I don't agree. I disagree. I mean, wait. I can't talk because the end is coming and the pressure's on. And Randy's going to force me to stop on time. She will beat my ass if I don't. I agree with what she just said, even though it took me 3 attempts to articulate that.
The voters. That's why it's a bad thing if only non-libertarians vote. If we don't...
No, if only non-libertarians vote. And if the more libertarians are, that's the fewer people voting. The fewer people vote, the less legitimate the system is.
vote, nobody's going to fear us. If we do, we could actually have an impact and move.
Nobody fears libertarians now, especially not pseudo-libertarians like yourself, who aren't really libertarians. You're just people in the Republican Party who want to co-opt the name libertarian, the word libertarian, because conservative is a dirty word. We'll get to that in the next podcast. Hey, there's going to be 2 issues. Imagine that.
Things to a more libertarian direction.
Okay. you are not moving things in a libertarian direction. You are moving things in a pseudo-libertarian direction. Now, remember at the beginning I talked about definitions, about how we actually defined the word legitimize so that we could then discuss, does voting legitimize the system or not? We also have to define the word libertarian. Now, here's the thing. I do not know how Julie is defining the word libertarian. I don't have access to that information, right? My definition of the word libertarian is somebody who who supports property rights and somebody who adheres to the non-aggression principle. Using that definition, none of the pseudo-libertarians like Julie or like Ron Paul, and we'll talk about Ron Paul in the next issue here, none of those people are actually libertarians. That's why I'm calling them pseudo-libertarians, okay? They do not abide by the non-aggression principle. The fact that they support the state, which murders people, is in evidence of this. The fact that they want to use the state to force people to do things or not do things. I mean, so you're going to, well, I'm not even going to go there right now because we're running out of time. Randy, what else do I need to cover on this? Where's my notes? Yeah, I know. And we're actually, I'm hungry too. We're going to get food. It's true. You know, I talked about if no one plays, the monopoly voting analogy, okay? Voting does legitimize the state because the state exists because you vote for it, you support it. It's like the Monopoly game. You can have the physical game of Monopoly. You have the board, you have the dice, you have the markers, you have the cards, you have the Monopoly money. But if nobody is actually playing the game of Monopoly, the game of Monopoly doesn't exist. It only exists when people participate in it. The state works the same way. If people don't participate in the state will cease to exist. The state can only exist because of your participation. And when you vote, that is your participation. You keep the state alive. You legitimize it. The state then goes out and does the war on drugs. It does the war on terror. It touches the little boys in the airports. It kills people. It imprisons people. It uses flying robots to murder other human beings in foreign countries. And all of that is legitimized by your participation. So when you say voting is not aggression, when you say voting does not legitimize the state, I fucking need you to explain to me how you reached that dumbass wrong conclusion.